and welcome to our Ethnic Reborn painting class, where I teach you step by step on how to paint a beautiful ethnic reborn doll after my beautiful friend Sarah. So we are now in this stage. We've had two videos. The first in which I explained to you how to prepare your doll and how to practice the glazing technique. And the second video was all about undertones and painting veins in the skin. And let's see if you can see it up close. This is what the doll looks like now, and to be honest, it does look a little bit like a zombie. So in this stage I'm going to teach you how to get a beautiful living, breathing, a rich brown skin tone as Sarah does in the picture. Let's get started, and I'm going to teach you step by step how to do it. But before we get started, this is very important because I'm going to tell you a lot of information about skin, about paint, about colors, and about glazing. So if all this information is a little bit too much for you, or if you just need to have a little reminder of everything I told you in this video, I made an ebook full of pictures and high quality pictures to show the steps that we are making in this video, and all the information, and even additional information on how to paint beautiful dolls of color. If you want to get the ebook, click on the link in the description or send me an email at this email address. Let's get started. First we're going to paint the dark areas. After that we're going to paint the red areas. Then we're going to do another layer of modeling, but this time purple modeling. And in the end we're going to deepen the blues. If you read the ebook, you know that in the last lesson I made a little drawing of our reference photo in which I mapped out the dark areas. And we've already painted them a light glaze of blue. So let's paint the same areas, so the darker areas you can see on the baby's face. But this time let's start with a deep brown tone, and for that you've got your brown earth in your supplies package. Before we start the actual painting process, make sure there's no dust on your doll. So take your biggest brush and make sure it's dry and dust free, and go over the whole doll to make sure you get all the little dust particles that have been gathering there since you've painted last time, and get all the dust particles off. This will prevent you from having to take them out after painting, which is an annoying job. Let's make our first glaze. This is what you need: water, toilet paper, your medium, a sponge, your aluminum foil on your palette, and the brushes. And of course your one tip for the dust, brown earth, and your translucency measurement paper thing. Let's get started. A little bit of matte medium. Oops. And because this layer is going to cover all the dark areas, you will need a lot of matte medium. So be mindful of the area you're going to paint. But it's better to start with less and add more matte medium than add too much. First we're going to paint the biggest parts with the biggest brush. So just grab a little bit of brown on your brush and put that to the side. You're not going to use this because there's enough on the brush, and we're going to flip it around until we've got 95% of medium and 5% or even less of brown earth. You want this first layer to be very, very translucent. As you see, I drag the matte medium up to the paint. I want all the matte medium because I want this layer to be very translucent. And see how I dab the brush in there so I get all the paint that's still gathered in the brush, because you want a very nice even color, because we don't want stripes on our doll. Okay, first let's try the translucency on this paper. I think it's still too brown. It's not translucent enough, so we're going to add a little bit more medium. on the side again, because if we have too much matte medium, we can use it for the next layer. Just drag it in again. And the matte medium, it looks white, but it's going to dry translucent. So it will just help to make a beautiful thin layer of brown with an even amount of pigment. Let's try this over the veins that we made. Okay, this is a lot thinner, it's better. Yes, this is what we want. So let's get started. We do this in sections again. So first we're going to do half the forehead, then the other half, and dab in between. You can use my illustration of the dark areas, or you can train your eyes yourself and look at our reference photo. So we're going to start with the forehead. See how it barely changes? Okay, and be sure to also reach the edges of the ears so there won't be a gap in there. So half of the forehead. And then we're going to blend with the sponge. And be very aware of the edges. The edges where there's paint and there's no paint, those are the most important, because we don't want to see a stripe. Okay, let's do the other half as well. And behind the ear, don't forget. And then blend first the edges and then the bigger part. So first the edges of the paint. And then the bigger part, to be sure there are no stripes or anything. Okay, we've done the forehead, and now it's time for the back of the head. Let's start where we started first. And it's okay to go over the lines of your first layer of paint we just did. And don't worry if it's not that even in the beginning. This really takes practice. And the nice thing about skin is that it's not totally even. There's always discolorations or little bumps in the skin. So don't worry, don't get discouraged if it doesn't really look amazing in the beginning. There are a lot of layers that we can still practice this technique. So don't worry, just continue. Even if you think, well, this is not really what it should look like, just continue. So as you see, this is a very, very thin layer. Don't take too much onto your brush, because when you take too much paint on your brush, you will get blotches and it would not be beautiful. So again, dab it. And after we've done the forehead and the back of the head, we're going to do the neck. As you can see, as I painted here, it's darker. And there as well on our reference picture. So first the back. So you might be you might wonder why we're not painting the full face brown at first, and that is exactly the same reason as we did the blue layers just on a few parts in the beginning, because we're going to focus on depth first, because that will make the baby look alive, and after that we're going to focus on color. So this is the depth layer. There are also some other parts that are darker. This is also part of the neck, So we're going to paint that darker as well. So just underneath the ears and the chin. And if it's barely visible, that's exactly what you want. We're going to get our smaller brush with the smaller tip and the wide end at the beginning. And we're going to go in to the areas around the mouth. As you see, on top of the lips, above the lips, it's darker, and underneath the lips it's darker as well. So let me show that to you. So what we're painting here as well is this part, as is visible in here. These parts are always darker. So underneath the lips, inside of the edges of the mouth, and down at the sides of the chin. Okay, and as I told you, the inside of the mouth is always darker because there's two lips on there, and there will always be a shadow in between. And then we're going to paint on the mustache part. There is no really mustache, but I don't really know the name, so we call this the mustache part. Underneath the lips. And see what I do. I don't paint the white stuff above the lips here, and I don't paint the higher things in here because they are lighter. You see that they are lighter? All right. And then again, inside the nose, because that's always darker, and at the edges of the nose, or the folds of the nose, or whatever you want to call them. If they're not blended enough, you're going to take your dry brush and blend it, because we cannot really reach it with our sponge. Okay, then the inside of the eyes, and also really paint inside the doll, because we don't want that to be white. On the other side as well, and underneath the eyes. All right, the other side, inside of the eyes, inside the doll, on top of the eyes, on the eyelid, and under the eyes. Exactly, you got it. Now the last part for this layer is inside the ears. I painted that in there as well. First of all, make sure that you only paint the inside, so not the whole ear gets dark, but only inside of it. And on the other side as well, inside. And that is why this brush is so amazing, because you can paint inside of it very easily. All right, this was our first layer, the dark areas with brown. Before we start another layer, it's very important to clean our brushes and our sponge in between. And don't forget to dry them off really well. So we can start with a beautiful clean set of brushes. You don't need a new palette yet, because we still have enough paint to work with. Okay, grab your Naphtol Crimson and your Nails Red and make a 50-50 mixture of this. You don't need a lot, just a little bit. So a little dot of Nails Red, which is actually more of a purple, but they call it Nails Red. All right, clean the brush in between. Look at that cute little lemonade. Don't drink it though. Just a little warning, you know. Just a little dot again. Clean the brush because you want it to be nice and 50-50. Then mix it together. You don't need it all, just a little bit. See how I mix it together on a third part? So not all of it, because we only want a little bit because this red is very red. I can tell you that it's very pigmented. So now we have a little bit of red, and we're going to drag the matte medium towards the red. And again, swish and turn and splash until it's totally without stripes. You don't want any red on your brush anymore. Just nice and smooth one color. Okay, let's try this out on our paper. That is way too red. I'm talking about 95% matte medium, but I think it's 97% matte medium and only 3% red. This is a lot better. But to be sure, let's try it on our translucency paper. And let's blend it a little bit. Yes, this is a lot better. All right. I want you to look at the reference photo and see wherever you see red. I also made an illustration about the red parts. In this particular photo, because it's taken inside and it's very, it's a little bit blurry, you don't see a lot of red on the cheeks, but in reality there will be red on the cheeks as well. So I painted it in there that will make the baby look a little bit more lifelike. So I want you to study the reference photo, look for red, and then let's paint it. As you see, there's a lot of reddish parts in the forehead as well. In the ebook I show you the color wheel, and I show you all the colors that have red in it, so you want to see those colors as well. So you don't only look for red, but also for orange or purple or pink. Those are all colors that have red in it. So I think the forehead is still a little bit wet from the first layer, so let's start with the cheeks, because they're still empty. The cheeks are not one color red, they also always have a little bit of depth, so we're going to act as if this is a modeling layer. See, I'll dab it on, bring it up to the temples, and then dab it. You don't want to dab it off, you just don't want to even them out a little bit. Alright, then the other side. Going to do the same. Dab on. And it doesn't have to be perfect, it doesn't have to be small. You just want a little bit of separation between the paint. And then the dabbing is going to do wonders, because it's going to copy some of the old paint on top of it. So it's like having multiple layers. Alright. I see here on the top of the nose there's a little bit of red as well, so we're going to add that too. But I also see a white dot. This is a light dot, but we're going to make that to make the nose look even more alive. A little bit like this. Let's try it. As you see in here, there is this little bow, and I didn't paint that. It's like this, yes. So we're going to paint this. And the kid has this little bow in itself, which is very cool in this case. Okay, make sure you keep a little white area on top. And because it's it has small little edges, it's harder to blend with the sponge. We're just blending it with our dry brush. Let's do the inside of the eyes. The inside of the eyes, and again inside of the kid. And the eyelids. And in the beginning of the eye fold in here. Blend a little, we don't want no stripes. So inside of the eyes. The eyelid and the beginning of the eye fold. Oops. So, and of course the lips themselves are red. They are actually more of a pinkish and a brown tone, but this tone of red does exist in the lips. So let's make beautiful little glaze. And this glaze is so translucent that it doesn't make the whole lips red, because that's not what we want yet. Alright, we want the inside of the nose darker, and we're going to add our red in there. I also see red on top, a bit between the nose and the lips. So we're going to add some red glaze in there as well. And again, don't forget to leave the top parts. And we're going to blend with our big brush the inside of the ears. And the other side. And the biggest part we didn't do yet is the forehead, so let's make the forehead red as well. And we're going to use our biggest brush again. Let's see if I still have enough. I can make some more with what I have. Okay, we were going to use the same sections as before. So first the sides. We made a little bow here because we see a little less red in there. First one side the forehead and blend. Don't push too hard because you don't want to remove all of the paint. And the other side of the forehead. And again, push against the ear because we don't want to leave the ear hanging. So, and dab again, blend. And then the back of the head. I'm doing that in 2 sections as well. So blend. And the last part of the head. Very thin layer. Go over the edges. And the neck. Okay, wow, she's coming to life. Since we have some light red left, let's do a glaze over the whole ear, except the inside, because this part will always be a little bit lighter, but that way the ear will come to life a little bit more. So the whole ear. The other side of the ear, I mean the ear on the other side. So the ear on the other side. And again, don't paint this part, but only the part that stick out the most, because they'll get a little bit cold and then they'll get a little bit red. Let's do a little bit on the chin, because we want that to be a little bit more alive as well. And I do see a little bit of a pinkish tone in between the nose bridge, so let's dab some on there as well. Alright, so after the red layer and the first dark layer, this is what you get. Finally, you will see some more depth. 2 more layers to go. Our third layer is going to be, the third layer we're going to make is some rough purple modeling. Add some more matte medium. If you don't have some nails red with Naphtol Crimson, you can make a little bit more. And we're going to add a dot of phthalo blue. Again, in between, wash and clean your brushes. Wash and clean, I mean wash and dry, obviously. You'll need only a little dot of blue. Alright, we've got a little bit of blue. You're going to need 30% of blue and 70% of your red mixture. And mix it together. Mix it together until you've got a nice little purple. Exactly like that. And then again 95% medium and 5% paint. 95% medium, 5% of paint. As you see, I kind of brush my brush like this to get all of it out, to not waste any paint. Let's try at first how translucent it is. Well, this is perfect, actually. You want it to be like this. Rough modeling, again, is just making beautiful dots with your little brush. So we're going to do that over the forehead, and we're doing that in the same sections as we always paint. So first one half of the head and then the other half. All right, and then blend. So you don't want to blend all of the blobs away, but you want the edges to not be visible anymore. See how the skin gets depth like that? All right, the other side of the forehead. This is just the middle. And inside as well, a little bit on top of the nose. All right, then first dab that, and then the rest of the middle part. All right, and then the other side. Rough modeling is very important to get depth. So you don't want them to be visible dots, but you want them to be color differences in your picture. Okay, do that on the rest of the head as well. You can do this very roughly, or just as fine as you want, of course. Blend. I would advise to do this in 2 sections, in 2 parts. I was just a little bit lazy and did it all at once, which is not smart, but it worked out all right. Okay, we do just a little bit of rough modeling on the cheeks, because the cheeks are not as dark as the forehead, but you will see depth as well. And with the cheeks, I make the dots a lot smaller. Just a little bit like this. All right, blend it. Don't forget the chin. I'll do the chin as well. Just a little bit on the chin. And the other cheek. The colors of your modeling layers, they depend on the color of your reference photo. But since this baby, and let's deepen this crease with just a stripe. And last, we're going to do the neck and underneath the chin. Modeling is just a way to show the hint of the veins and capillaries underneath the skin. So there we are, and the other side of the neck as well. And blend it. Alright, since we have some purple, we're going to go over the dark areas as well. With everything we have left, we are going over the darkest areas. And also the top lip, only the top lip. Because that one is darker as the bottom lip. And the inside of the ear. And blend it. And the inside of the other ear. And again, blend it. Okay, this is what we've got for now. See how much depth you already have. So you can also see that it's way more pinkish purple than the reference photo. This is because we're first working on depth and then on color. It's also called a primary method, but it's not totally the primary method because I also use layers of brown earth just to speed up the process and make it easier for you to understand. Okay, step 4 is we're going to deepen the blues. Remember, we're going to darken the dark areas again, but since we're using the primary method for the first layers, we're going to use the blue to darker and to shade the darker parts. Remember that yellow, blue and red together makes brown. Okay, let's get started with the darker parts to deepen the blues. If you need some help, you can use my image that I've drawn, or you can use your reference photo of Sarah and see if you can find the blues yourself. To deepen the blues, we're going to start with the forehead again. For that part we will need our biggest brush. In the middle, and again just a little dot of blue on the side. Clean your brush and dry it. Drag your medium towards an edge of the blue and make a blue glaze again. We only need a little bit of blue and a lot of medium. So again, 5% of blue and 95% medium. Let's check our translucency. So this was our first layer of blue. And let's see if we add blue over it, if the blue gets a little bit darker. See the difference? Even though the glaze is just as thick, 2 glazes makes more pigment on top of each other, so that makes it darker. Alright, and over the veins and stuff, that's perfect. So let's do what we always do. First in parts of the forehead. Remember, this part is lighter, so we're going to skip that part. Let's do first the left part of the forehead. And a very thin glaze. And now I made a mistake by going over the light part, and you can just erase it with your little sponge, of course. And behind the ear. Okay, then dab it to even it out. If your room is very dusty, make sure to vacuum the room before starting to paint. Okay, the other side of the forehead, and remember, we're going to leave that little area. So down towards the ear again, and then the other part of the forehead. Behind the ear, and then dab. So there's no sharp edges at all, because we don't want sharp edges or stripes. Okay, then let's go to the back of the doll. First to half of the back. See if I have enough. Yes. And I also see now that there is some paint piling up behind the ear. We don't want that, so I'm just going to dab with my dry brush to blend. Okay. Ew. Whatever that was, I have no idea. So first 1/2 of the head. See another stripe here. And I see a little dirt. Let's remove it directly. And the other half of the head. And behind the ears. And don't forget the neck. Okay, then we're going to the other dark areas. So inside of the eyes. Let's get this brush again, because it's very easy. So inside of the eyes and inside of the eyelid. Also underneath the eyes. As you can see, there's a purplish color. And now we can see this edge until the eyebrow is a little bit dark as well. So we're talking about this part, you see? And on the other side as well. So this part. And when we look closely, there are blue tones in here as well. So that's where we're talking about this part. In between the eyebrows. Let's see if you can see that. So, first the other eyelid, in between the eyes, and on the eyelid, and underneath the eyes, and just like I showed you, this part here until the eyelid. Let's sponge eyebrow until the eyebrow. Let's sponge it out. Let's add some more in here so it's more visible. And as you see, there's a little bit of a purple hue in between the eyes and on top and above the nose. So let's add that too. All right, inside of the nose. And now you see it's not really blended well, so we're getting a dry brush and blend it so we don't have any harsh or sharp edges. Well, now I took everything out, so paint again and blend the edges. All right, next to the nose as well, and on the other side too. And then in the folds of her smile and the mustache area, as I call it, because I don't know the actual English name, in between this area and then here, and now you see there's a little dirt. Get it out with my wand tip. Alright, the top lip is darker than the bottom lip, so the top lip gets a little blue as well. Make sure to go inside of all of the little folds, and we see that the edges of the lip, the sides of the lip, are lit purple as well, just like I've shown on this picture. The edges, the sides of the lip. So we're going to leave the middle part, just the edges and the sides. Also the edges of the mouth and underneath the lips. Edges of the mouth and underneath the lips. And down towards the chin. Okay, let's do this fold. And I think we just forgot the neck when we did the head, so let's do the neck too. And don't forget to connect the neck to the ears with your blue, because the skin behind the ears is always a little bit thinner. So the other side, connect the neck to the ear. Okay, then the inside of the ear. And blend it out with your dry brush, so we don't have any sharp lines. And the other side too, inside of the ear. And blend and blend and blend it out. Let's see if I forgot any darker parts. No, that's it. So we did 4 layers today. First we made the dark areas with pure brown earth, then we painted the red areas. After that we have painted some purple mottling, and then we've deepened the blues. For part 2 we're going to repeat the whole process. So this is the end of episode 3. Look at how much depth we were able to build in this episode. In the next episode, we're going to give this baby some real color, something more like this. I'm so excited to learn more together with you guys. And if you want some feedback from other artists that are working on the same kit or working on the same lessons as you can subscribe for a private Facebook group where we can give each other feedback and ask for help and give each other compliments on how we are doing. If you want to be part of the Facebook group, check in the description below and click on the link. And also don't forget to like and subscribe so more people can see these videos and learn with us. I'm excited for lesson 4. Will I see you there?